I am here with my co-counsel, Mike Bryant, to my far left. And also we stand today with two very courageous survivors who came forward some years ago as Jane Does. And today are here using their names because they have been on a journey of hope, help, and healing. And it's their journey and other survivors that has caused the Diocese of New Ulm to now release, for the first time, the list of the credibly accused offenders. Those are priests that they know have abused minor children in the past and have now released it to the public. And it is because of the courage of these survivors and others that has allowed this to now be made known, so that other survivors who may have been hurt by these or other clerics in the Diocese of New Ulm can now know they can do something. And they can do something in the next 58 days, because the chance to act and to recover one's power and to have their truth known and to bring a claim against the diocese, against an offender, or any institution that permitted it is ticking. The clock is ticking. And there are 58 days left on the Child Victims Act. 58 days. And so, because we now know at least these names, and the files will be following, and the release of files will be following the release of these names, we know today that there is more light than there was before. And we also know that within the window of time that remains, there's a chance for survivors to come forward as Jane Does and as John Does, to preserve their own privacy, but to take their power back, to empower themselves, and know that they can also protect other kids in the future. And that's what Kim Schmidt, who started as Jane Doe 17,
18, yes.
Jane Doe 18, and Lori Stoltz started as Jane Doe 7 did. And so, come on in, Jane. So I would like to introduce two very courageous survivors who started as Jane Does in their journey, each of whom were violated as very young children, and they're holding pictures of the ages in which they were violated by a priest of the Diocese of New Ulm who is a serial offender, against whom we have had or have over 30 claims pending. Did you hear that? Against whom we have had or have 30 claims pending right now. How many more are there? He's dead, but the harm that he was allowed to do is evergreen. These Jane Does, formerly Jane Does, Kim and Lori, had the courage to stand up for themselves first, and then stand up for those other kids. And so, first, Kim, introduce yourself and tell us how this journey has been for you and what it has made you feel.
Kim, we're going to have you step up.
You step right up here, Kim.
Thank you so much.
I'm Kim Schmidt, also known as Jane Doe 18. And it took many years, it's been over 40 years since this had happened to me, and it robbed big portion of my life that I really didn't understand until I became an adult. The guilt and the shame and the problems with authority figures in my life. And through this, coming forward, I stepped out of the shadows and into the light. And was able to have a voice, and through that, finding out there was many, many, many more girls and victims such as myself that also were in the dark, in the shadows, and felt shame and guilt, and are now able to, because I stepped forward to come out of the shadows also. And it has given me some empowerment, a little bit of peace of mind, and just some justice, finally, 40 years later.
And you did settle your case along with Lori's, but as a part of that, that's what has caused and incentivized the diocese to now make these disclosures, and you can own a piece of that because you have stood up and you found that voice and you came forward as a Jane Doe, and you're here with us today. Thank you, Kim.
And I encourage anybody else out there that is holding back, please come forward, because it does bring peace and heals your soul.
Thank you, Kim. Lori, Kim, I want you to stand there. Right here. Okay. Lori
Hi.
Stoltz.
I'm Lori Stoltz, and I was formerly Jane Doe 7. And I was a girl around 11 to 13 when, abuse happened to me. It was very confusing when I was younger. Didn't have a voice as a child. And so I was very scared. You kind of keep this a secret. It stays with you as a dark secret that just kind of stays, and it kind of manifests itself in just how you feel about yourself. Depression. I know I felt anger, depression, darkness, just not being myself, not being confident. I know when I first came to Jeff and his team, I was, it was quite a few years ago, but I was an adult. Children don't have voices, but adults do. And so I was happy as much as I started as Jane Doe, I was anonymous, and I guess I got the courage along the way to have my name out there, hoping that maybe if I had a name and was brave enough, I could maybe show other people that you can be brave too. And it's scary, it really is scary, but you have support. If you tell others, it's very helpful. I know it was very healing for me, and I just feel like I'm a happier person from having gone through the healing process. And I would encourage anyone to go through the healing process too. It does matter, it does help. It does make you feel like you're not crazy, like you're not alone.
And Lori Stoltz, having started this process under the Child Victims Act that allowed the window for you to come forward starting as a Jane Doe,
Definitely.
which you did, and you were scared and you were living in shame, right?
I was awful. It was absolutely awful. I wanted to just stay anonymous Jane Doe. It would have been easier.
But then at some point in time you said to yourself, with maybe a little encouragement, maybe it's time for you to speak up and out, and you did.
I did.
And you're here today sharing your name and your story. So how has this journey felt for you, and how are you feeling today because you took this power back? Tell us about it.
It wasn't easy, I will say that. Healing's never easy. Healing takes time, takes a lot of patience. If you have the right friends, the right support, it's very helpful. I know that I can tell you, I've had friends even tell me I'm a different person. I feel lighter, I feel happier, because I can finally feel that I've told a secret that needed to be told. And I realize I'm not alone. I mean, that was very helpful to know I wasn't alone.
And you've also encouraged other survivors. There are almost 30 survivors of Roni alone that have now come forward who are working with us privately and confidentially. And how does that make you feel?
This is why I did it. In the scheme of things, I could have just stayed anonymous. And one of the reasons I wanted to have my name out there, as scary as it was, is I knew that maybe perhaps some classmates of mine would have recognized me, and it's like, wow, I knew her and she's brave enough, maybe I can do it too. It makes me very happy. If I've done nothing else, I feel like I can help educate, because I know I'm an educator. I can help others somehow I feel that maybe I can help people get through something that's been very difficult. It makes me happy to know that I could help others. That's the best part of this.
And Lori and Kim stand with us today because they know the Child Victims Act window is closing in 58 days. And it is the chance that was given them for private hope, help, and healing that other survivors can have if they act now. If they act now, because it closes. And what we do know is just on this list alone, we have Heinrich. We're working with 13 survivors right now of Heinrich, who he abused. All anonymous. When we look at this list, we look at J. Vincent Fitzgerald. We're working right now with a dozen survivors, all of whom are anonymous, Jane and John Doe's, who came forward getting help and having hope they didn't have before. We are also working with, involving Skoblik, 14 survivors, all of whom remain anonymous, but who are getting better and taking their power back. And it is about empowerment, and it is about the chance to take their power back, speak their truth, find their voice the way Lori and Kim have. I'm so proud of you. I love you both.
Love you.
And not only take their own lives back, but do something to protect other kids in the future. And knowing that what you've done today and what you've done in the past has perhaps saved some other kids from the horrors you endured by Roni. So thank you to you, the legislature, for passing the Child Victims Act and giving them and us the chance to have this truth known. It's yet to be fully known, but the clock is ticking. The time is now. You can do it. And it just takes enough courage to make a call. Thank you, Kim and Lori. Mike, what else do we need to know about this?
Today's just a historic day to get this list, to have them finally come forward and give you these names, to have it out in public. That's what these cases are about, is getting this information. It's a tremendous opportunity to be able to help survivors find justice and give them a right. That's what the Child Victims Act was supposed to do, give people who didn't have a voice a chance to come forward. There's more people out there. There's lists out there. There's more lists out there, and we're going to keep this battle going. But the next 58 days are very important for people with claims to come forward and get that justice.
We also know that this list is only that compiled by the diocese and by the bishops and the former bishops of those that they believe are credibly accused offenders. We know there are other offenders out there who are yet to be named, yet to be exposed, maybe still some out there right now in positions of power. So this list is not exclusive to the names of the offenders formerly at large in the Diocese of New Ulm. We have a name that came up in the documents, Jermaine Kunz, K-U-N-Z, who has never been made known or disclosed by the diocese. And so how many more other Ronis are there that have engaged in predatory conduct as clerics or as brothers, as priests? And how many more Fitzgeralds, Heinrichs, and all these others are out there? And the answer is we don't know, and we can't know until somebody shares the secret. And under the Child Victims Act, there's a way to do that, and it's in the next 58 days that it has to be done. So thank you to you, Lori, and thank you to you, Kim. You've made the difference in our lives as we share this journey, and you've made a difference in your own lives.
Yes, we have.
And in the lives of others. You've inspired and strengthened us. With that, you all have any questions?
So you released the names of 16 priests today. Apart from the 3 that you've mentioned here, are you working on cases involving others on that list as well?
Yes. Today, the names of the 16 incredibly accused offenders have been released. And yes, there are other priests whose names we have on our radar, who we have yet to be ready to release, and for whom we intend to bring suit. The investigation that we need to do before we release that information isn't complete, and as soon as our investigation is complete, we put that out there. We don't hold on to names, we don't hold on to secrets, and we don't keep secrets. We get it out there. And that's a work in progress, and you can expect there are more to come, as there should be. So this is a beginning, and that's good news, that this is out after long last, because this is actually the last diocese in Minnesota to have released names and lists. Every diocese under pressure from survivors like this, by the way. Every diocese, every bishop under pressure from survivors just like this. And the bad news is that the time to do something about getting your own life back, finding your voice, taking action, and doing something to protect other kids is short. And every day it's shortening, and that clock is ticking. So, anything else?
Lori and Kim, can you both tell us how old you were when the
Come on
abuse
up here.
started and how long it lasted?
For me, it was in 1968. And I was standing there waiting for my taxi after release classes when the priest approached me and backed me into a corner, into the dark. And it only happened once for me. And I went home and told my mom. And my parents went and confronted. And they promised something would have been done. But nothing was done. And he was just reprimanded and shuffled to another church, eventually came back to Ulmer. And it wasn't until Lori and I became friends as teenagers, and we were hanging out in her bedroom listening to records, and we were doing girl talk when she had told me what had happened to her, the same priest, at a later, she was a little older. And my mouth dropped. I thought that something had been taken care of with that priest, and here, I was just dumbfounded that it had been going on and still affecting other people.
And the officials had promised her parents that something would be done, and it wasn't. And Roni was allowed to continue in ministry and continued to abuse, by our count so far, 30 survivors with whom we're working, and how many more? Didion, you were at the age of 12 or 13, Lori?
It was 2 years, 11 to 13. And that, because at that time our family was going through enough difficulties with, my mom being a single mom and everything. He kind of took us under his wing, and he'd come into our house a lot even, and take us swimming, take us on, give us special gifts from Guatemala. It's tough as a kid to know what's normal, and it's tough to figure out what's happening. You don't know terms like that when you're 11, 12, 13. Not back in the 60s and 70s. So
Well,
it's scary.
Lori Stoltz and Kim Schmidt, I just wanted to say on behalf of all of us and all those that needed you to find that voice and stand up, how grateful we are to you for your courage and inspiration. You've helped us on this path, and you've helped many other survivors find it, and hopefully they'll find it today because of your courage today.